Hello everyone, and here we are with another episode of Quick Snippets with Roxy Creations. So one of my plans for my quick snippet videos, which if you've watched my other videos, I've mentioned that I've been planning these videos for quite some time, was to revisit one of our Roxy's Journal of Stitchery, or some of our Roxy's Journal of Stitchery projects in standalone videos. So one of my favorite things that I did last year was this bowl. So I'm going to show you this one first. So this was part of what would be volume, I think we're currently volume 7-6. This is volume 5. So I did this in, I think it was June last year, and it was the last prompt. So we did monthly prompts for that one that we called Useful Things. And this was the one I left till the end because I was super excited about making it. So I've always seen lots of lovely textile vessels. There's certainly some really amazing people out there making textile vessels. But one thing I hadn't seen was a textile vessel made in this kind of vintagey kind of style with the vintage embroideries, Suffolk puffs, things like that. I'd seen other versions, beautiful textile ones, collage textile fabric, but not exactly like this. And this had been in my head for a long time, using French laundry labels, bits of laces, bits of old fabrics, bits of old embroidery, etc. So this one I was really excited about, and I'd obviously seen them, but I didn't know how to make them. So in my first video, and I will link the videos where I made this one, I think there's a few videos to this one, I made it really complex. So I remember starting out, I explained when I made that video, I'm just going to get a bowl. I started out with a bowl like this, and I just got some let me get some fabric. I got some fabric, some calico, just grabbing this because it's close, and I literally put a piece of fabric over, and I was trying to work out how could I make tucks, and it was really wonky the first one I did. And then I worked out if I cut a circle of fabric, and what I did in my video is I cut the circle. I'm going to show you, I've cut a circle of wool, so I'll show you on this. So I cut the circle, and then what I did is I got a ruler and I did a lot of measuring. So with the calico, I'd measure across and I'd come in a certain amount of centimeters there, and then I did it here and I marked it there and I marked it there and there. I think I had 8. And then I made like little V's, so that the purpose was that I stitched a little pleat in, and I made some, it was crazy how I did it because I do it so much more simply now. And then I put some wadding in, and then I had another layer of calico. So I had all these pleats, and it ended up making the bowl shape. And so it did end up working, like it worked, but wow, I made that super complex, and it didn't need to be that complex, but at the time, that's how I worked out how to do it. And then, long story short, sorry guys, Mum and Rach wanted to make one when she arrived at the start of December, and I'd already been thinking of a much easier way to do it. And I'm like, well, I've got an easier way. I can show you how to do it. So I'm going to show you my much easier way. That's why I'm revisiting the project. Number one, I want to make some more bowls because I love them. Number two, it's time to show you an easier way, which we've been doing now for a little while. And I've shown a few people how to do it this way. So I thought I'd share it with you guys. So just to show you the outside of my bowl. So lovely, yummy vintage textile. So with this one, I really wanted that white base, and I put a lot of vintage linens underneath, and then I added the pops of colour and did some random stitching and used some of my lovely hand-dyed wools. So I love this one. I use it for bits and pieces all the time. And then my lovely friend, Pam, our lovely friend Pam. Pam, you feel like you're part of our family. We love you. She made us these gorgeous bowls, and they are reversible too, by the way, guys. But these are the cutest little bowls. So same kind of style, gorgeous, gorgeous bowls. And I love putting my little bits and pieces in there, like little scraps of fabric. That's one of my most favourite Liberty prints, that one. So Pam made this gorgeous one. And then around Christmas time, I started playing around. Mum gave me a bunch of Japanese, old Japanese indigo fabrics, which are definitely a fave. And I made this little reversible one. So yeah, I've got a couple of others on the go, not quite finished, but I thought what I'd do is I'd jump on camera and show you how to make them. So hopefully. I know a few people at the Green Door have been asking Mum because they've seen the ones. Mum, I don't know how many Mum's up to since the start of December. I don't know, 3 or 4, Mum, is that what you're up to? Anyway, Mum must have had one at a Green Door open studio and people were asking how to do them, and Mum said that, you know, that I could do it and I'd show them. So there are people that these have become all the rage at the moment. I'm seeing a lot of these around. Certainly there's a few people that have gone to my old technique and used it. Sorry about it being so complex. But what we use is just a wool base. So this is what Mum and Rach has been using. I'll link Rach's video as well. She did a video of things she made when she was here in Australia, and you'll see her beautiful bowl. So this is quite a nice thick one. It's just a blanket that I got from Vinnie's. So I just drew around a plate. Sorry, it might be shiny, an old plate. And then I cut out the wool circle. So I'm going to show you a larger one as well. So this is just a little piece I've cut out of that wool. Put down the plate, drawn around it just with a friction pen. You're not actually going to see the wool, so it doesn't matter. And it doesn't matter if it's a bit wonky. Doesn't matter if you don't perfectly cut your circle. So cut out your circle. So I'm doing 2 sizes, and I will tell you the measurements of the plate in a minute, just so you can see the size difference, what the size will come down to once you make it into the bowl. All right, so if you don't have wool blanket, you could definitely use, like, I'd say the nice bamboo wadding, or there is wool wadding if you've got a bit of an offcut. Just trying to see where my line went, over here a bit. You could use a Sharpie to circle your plate if you need the line a bit darker. Yeah, I would just use something with a bit of thickness because, number one, it makes your bowl soft. It allows you to flip it. If you just use fabric, it wouldn't be thick enough. And yeah, it gives you a nice base to stitch onto. Little bit of a wonky circle, but it really doesn't matter. It will end up looking like a bowl. Let's go to the small one because it'd be easier. So this small one across is just under 8 centimeters or 8 inches or 20 centimeters exactly. So all I do is I come across and I decide how far down I want my cuts to be. So I'm just going to come straight across, and I am going to go 5 centimeters. We'll see what that looks like. So we're going to come down to here. So do a few stripes so you can see the line. And then on this side, I do the same thing, 5 centimeters. So I was very precise with my measuring on the first one. This one, say it's actually a similar technique. I'm just making it easier. So then I go straight across. And I do this so that I have 8 lines to cut out. So there's 4, and then I just approximate. Don't worry if you're not perfectly in the middle. Just try and eyeball it. Just wing it like we do. So I'm just coming 5 centimeters down from the edge. Okay, and then I do the same thing again. And this is the same kind of measuring I did on the other one, but I was way more precise. And then this is how simple. Okay, so then from here, I just cut these. Okay, cut, cut, cut. Okay, so I think you can probably see where this is going. Hi, Alfie. Okay, now all you do is you'll need just some normal sewing thread, and let me find a needle. Don't want that one. No, hang on. Look at Dawn. Dawn is covered in needles. It's a bit long, that's a milliner's. I like it, probably there's a small one, nice small one. Thread up your needle. Okay. Just do your quilter's knot. And all you do is with each flap, you just overlap them, and you just approximate, like, what am I overlapping it by? That is about 2.5 centimeters. I could bring it out a bit. You don't have to be precise on this. Let's say I take it to 2 centimeters, and all I do, and this can be just big rough stitches, I stitch down the walls with the overlap. So stitch down the little flaps. Okay, big rough stitches. I go up one side and then down the other, and this doesn't take long at all. Okay, so just up to the top. Just hoping I'm on camera. And then I just go across the top until I get to just here on the edge. And then you can flip it. And I just want to make sure I stitch down just inside this edge. I don't have to go too close. And then I just finish it off, and then I go to my next slit and I overlap. Now, there is a little bit more thickness here. It doesn't matter. You're going to cover this whole thing with bits of fabric. So I start with a fabric base first. And so last time when I did my other bowl, I did it all in white. I wanted all white linens and that kind of thing. So most of it's old linen, off-white doilies and things like that. And then I added the colour on top. But as I said, you don't, like, you add the base colour, but then you don't have to add all the embellishments on top. So this one, I've done it deliberately. I've just stitched all over the place, and it's like my little borrow bowl. It's like a borrow quilt where I just kept adding patches and patches and patches, and I stitched in all different directions, and I love this. It is so cute, especially when it gets a bit more tattered and you got little bits that will fray. Yeah, I love that one. I think that's super cute. So I've got down to the bottom. Doesn't look much like a bowl yet, but wait. Okay, so then we overlap again. And we just keep doing it until all the little bits done. I'm going to show you. Come over here, Dawn. Hi, Dawn. Hi, Helly. I'm going to show you. I'll pin it and show you how it takes shape. Okay, so approximate similar distance, about 2.5 centimeters. Can you see it's starting to take shape? You might even like to pin it all first, just to check that you're happy with the depth of it. I think it's good to keep a bit of a larger base, because if you go too deep and it becomes too high, it'll kind of wobble a bit, won't sit very well because it won't have a bit of a flat base to sit on. You see, it's curling out a bit just because of the pins. It won't do that. It will end up just coming up quite straight. So what I'll do is I'll pop off the camera, I'll stitch all these sides up, and then I'll come back and show you how to start adding fabric. All right, I will see you again very shortly. Okay, so I'm back with this bowl's all done, so it's all stitched together. That's the smaller one, and what I've done on the bigger plate, with this one, I've gone in, it's just about 7 centimeters, and I've cut the slits. So I'm just wondering if that base might be a bit small, but let's have a look. I'll just pin it, and we'll see what kind of shape we get out of this one. Still overlapping about 2-ish, maybe just over 2 centimeters. Okay, I won't stitch this one tonight. This one will just be another one I work on. I'm going to go ahead and explain the next step on the one that I've already stitched. So again, it flops over just because of the pins, but once you stitch it, it's kind of straight. So it'll be interesting to see how that one comes out. Floppy at the moment because the pins make it go like that. It will be bigger than this one. Might be about that size. I might have used that plate for this one. I can't remember. But anyway, that one is to be stitched. This one is stitched. Okay, so what I've got, I am really liking these kinds of colours at the moment. Oranges, peaches, yellow, some neon in there. That wool, I love that wool. So I love this piece of tablecloth. I want to rough it up a bit. I don't like edges to be too neat. To rough up, you can, and these mats are good for this, you can just get a pin and just pull off some bits on the edge. And then I'd pull a few strings off. Just I don't like it looking neat. I prefer the ripped fabric look. Okay, so I would rough that up a bit. I'll keep showing you. These are just things I've pulled at the moment, things that I'm thinking I'd like to use. So taking this, and maybe this is my inspiration. I feel I can add a little bit of aqua blue. That is a beautiful old feed sack I got many years ago. It was one of the first ones I got. I've got quite a few little bits of Liberty with orange in them. So I'm just pulling little bits. Look at all these little bits. That's a piece of feed sack. Little bits of Liberty. I'm going to zoom you in a bit more so you can see better. Come down a bit. Okay, more little bits of Liberty. Lovely orange florals. Bit of aqua. I love aqua and orange and yellow and bits of green. So I'll probably use a couple of bits of that old quilt that I've ripped off. So these are kind of this is my theme. This is what I'm going with. And then a bright bit of Liberty there. And then I'll add embellishing bits. Just a random bit of, well, there's another little bit I can put on. A random bit of, I don't even know. I don't think that's cheesecloth. I don't know what that is, but that will go on. Of course, an orange Suffolk puff. That's an old one. And a little blue one could go with it. Here's another lovely coloured thread that I think goes with this theme. And then just bits of lace. I've got quite a few bits of lace that I've just pulled, ripped. You know, I might want to put an embroidery on that like that. I've got one of these things that we often put onto our piece. A little bit of cotton tape measure. So that's not going to be probably enough to cover this whole bowl, but that's my vibe. That's my theme. Vibe. I sound like Fleur Vibe. No, she doesn't say vibe. I think she says jam. I've been listening to teenage kids too much. So that's my colour theme. I will need to pull some more fabrics. A lot of these are old fabrics. Some are new. And I'm going to show you what you do with them. Okay, so let's shove all of this to the side. All right, so I do have a very bright wool. And for the most part, I won't have to put anything under. So for example, if I start with that piece, you can't see the bright wool underneath because that's a newer fabric. But if I get like this old piece of quilt, that's actually not too bad. The other piece, where's the other piece? The other piece that's got a few, well, that one's not too bad either. But if it had a few holes, oh, it does. So you can see the bit of wool there. So that might be fine. I might not want to put anything under because maybe I just come in with a little patch that I stitch down or a bit of lace and you won't even see it. So doing the bowl, covering the bowl is as simple as randomly stitching on your fabrics for the base. So I'm going to use just a crochet cotton in an off-white colour. And so let me get a needle. Let's find one I like. This one's okay. It's a little chenille needle. That will do. So with the dark borrow bowl, I actually had navy fabric on, navy wool under, but I don't need to worry about that because they're all very opaque fabric, so you're not going to see through it. But what I do is I just randomly stitch down my pieces. Usually I do a cantha stitch and then later on you can add some decorative stitches. So just place it wherever. It is not going to be perfect because it's a bowl and it's curved, whereas the fabric is straight and flat. But you just layer it up. You just keep layering up. I usually will cover it all in fabrics first. So my original one, I covered it in all the white fabrics and then I layered the decorative colour on top. So I'm just going to do cantha stitching to begin with. Cantha stitching is just a running stitch if you haven't seen other videos. And with this, I don't need to worry about it at the moment because there's nothing on the back. Eventually, I'll be stitching through front and back, and it's the beauty of you end up doing messy stitches. Sorry, that's curving over. And the wool's really lovely to sew onto. I actually just found a wool blanket tonight. Well, this afternoon I took the dog for a walk, and we've had recent council cleanup for people overseas. I'm not sure if you have it, but it's where your local council, your local government come around. We get it three times a year, about once every 3 to 4 months. And you can put out basically things that need to be sent to the tip or recycled. I guess they might recycle some of it, but you put out like broken furniture, hose pipes, pots. People put out bags of clothes. We recently had it about 6 weeks ago, so I'm not sure why I found a pile of that on the side of the road where I am because our areas just had it. But right on top of the pile of clothes was a beautiful red and grey, like charcoal grey check blanket, like big checks. That was in lovely condition, except it had like 2 or 3 small moth holes. They weren't major. It smelt musty, like it had been in cupboard for a long time. So I carried it home. I've washed it, fabric softener, and it smells lovely, and it's now hanging on the line to dry. And it looks like it's a double size, and it was for free. So why do I get it? So I can use it under our stitching. It's perfect for bowls, perfect for pouches. You'll see Kate the Nest uses it all the time. Yeah, Fleur uses it under her work, Fleur Woods. Yeah, so You don't always have to buy stuff. Sometimes you can find stuff. Well, that's the first time I've ever found a blanket, but do find them in op shops like this one. This bright blue one was in an op shop and it's pure wool. And what was the price of this one? I think it was $20. Did find one for $7.50 the other day in Brisbane. The cheapest I found, I did find one in Sydney not that long ago, and it was $15 for a single bed one, and it's actually really lovely. I might keep that one because I like the colours. All right, so as I've been chatting away, we have stitched down our first piece of fabric. Then leave the thread in, grab another piece. A couple of the pieces like this, a couple of my favourite pieces. This one I'm thinking of later on, you can fold it over, okay, to cover the edge. You can see I've done that around here. I've folded over some bits to cover the edges. Pam has folded bits over to cover the edges, and I did it quite a few times on here as well. You can see folded over bits to cover the edges. So some of my favourite bits I'll feature more, so I'll keep these to layer on top. So this one I might run a different direction, overlap it a little bit, and I'm going to overlap a little bit so I get onto the other fabric. And I will do the running stitches the other direction. So yeah, you can turn it in and out. If you find it easier to stitch with it facing out, just flip it. And then you can flip it when you're stitching on the inside, whatever makes it easier for you. It's soft, it's flexible, you can bend it. So start with your base fabrics. You could cover it all in white. You could go a rainbow of colours. You can use some of your vintage textiles, thrifted textiles. This is a perfect scrap buster. Go into your scrap bucket, if you have one, and pull those little bits out that you normally think you wouldn't be able to use. All right, so what I will do is I am going to keep layering up random bits of fabric to cover the bowl. It does take a little while, just like it would take you quite a while to cantha stitch down all these fabrics onto a flat piece of calico or cotton. But it's really worth it. These bowls are great. They are just fabulous as scrap bowls. I have heaps of little bowls around me. Some of the ones are the ones that I machine stitched and some of the hand stitched ones. And I have them filled with things. So as I'm doing a project, I will pull out a collection. Sorry. Like I've just shown you, I had a little collection of bits and pieces that I want to use. So I'll pull out bits and I'll just have them in the bowl. And then I'll rummage through the bowl and find the next bit that I want to put on. So, yep, or just have it for your scrap threads. It's a pretty scrap thread bowl, or have it for, I put my threads in them as well. So I'll have a little bowl of different threads that I use regularly. So how many do I have around me at the moment? I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm making my 5th, 6, 7. I have 8 around me at the moment. They're not all the stitched like this. Some of them are the machine stitched. But I have 8 with, I have one that's got wool, several that have got bits of fabric, and then I've emptied these ones to show you. And look at my cantha stitching. Slow stitching is the most forgiving thing. I have just come in there and come really close to that line, and it's wider over here. But by the time it's all done, it doesn't matter. The wonkiness is definitely embraced in slow stitching. There is no perfection. Certainly not from me. Some people are neater, much neater. Rachel thinks that I'm not very wonky, but I'm very wonky. She thinks she's more wonky. I think we're both wonky. Runs in the family. Okay, I'm going to jump off and I will come back and show you again once I've got all the base fabrics on, and then we'll look at how you embellish further. All right, so I'll see you again soon. So this is the outside of my bowl, all stitched. And once you finish the outside, just a few loose threads, what you then do is you flip it, because it's easier to stitch on the outside than trying to stitch on the inside. And I've already stitched fabrics all over the outside. Well, it can go anyway, it's reversible really. I've done quite small pieces, that's about the biggest size I've done. There's a few bigger ones on here, but mostly just little small pieces, and it's just like a jigsaw puzzle, just getting pieces and snipping them and angling them. And I've got this last little bit to cover up, so I was just going to show you. And then I have some edge bits that I haven't covered up yet as well. So an example would be getting a small bit like this that I've trimmed down. I've got my thread there because I just stitched on like the red bit. I'll just come under. Now you have two choices here. I'm going to get rid of my knot. Oh. Yep, great. Just broke my fabric. I mean my thread, that's okay. I've already threaded that under. It's not going to get tangled, so that's okay. It's in there. You have two choices. You can do your count the running stitch and just go through in the middle to the wool layer, so I'm not coming all the way through to the other side. Or, so hang on, so let me get this going. Getting a bit tangled. Okay. So I'm doing that right now. I can feel on the other side that it's not coming through. Little running stitches, count the stitching. Or your other option is to go all the way through, and then you'd be able to see stitches going different directions on here. That's for the most part. You can see here there's some different directions. That's what I've done on this one. This one I did it in some places, but in other places I didn't. So I mean, it doesn't matter whichever way you want. The whole thing looks really pretty anyway with the stitching all over it. So the next thing will be just to finish off the edges, and then I have a choice. I can continue to add some little features on top, like some lace, some embroidery, some trims, some stitching in my my wool that I said I liked. Some of that around the edge would be nice, like I did on this one. There, stitching on the edge. Or I can just, once all the fabrics are down and I've covered the edges, I can leave it as is, just like a collage piece of textile bowl with just fabrics. And I was thinking that these would be really sweet as Easter bowls. So doing them in nice pretty colours. I think this one's a fairly pretty one. For Easter you might want to go a bit more pastel-y, and then filling them with some pretty foil covered mini eggs. That will be a lovely, lovely gift for someone, I think. Easter bowls. Sorry, it's Alfie chewing a bony kind of thing. I took him to the pet store today. It's my dog, for people that don't know. He's about 1 1/4 now. Took him to the we have Pet Barn here in Australia's big pet kind of warehouse place, and you can take your dogs in there, and they have rows and rows and like dishes of treats. Like you can pick all different treats for your pet, and he was walking along all the aisles sniffing everything. basically told me which one he wanted. So he's currently eating his treat. Okay, so all I did there is I just threaded it under. I knot at the beginning to make sure my stitches stay down, but the threading under, because there's so much stitching everywhere, it does end up being held down. So my bowl could be that way. I have got the embroidery there and my favourite tablecloth piece, so I'm thinking I might do that as the inside so that I see them, those lovely features, and then that will be my outside. And I do now have some edges to go over. So what we'll do, scrap of fabric, don't need it to be that wide. So all you do is put it on the edge, fold it over, and then I'll stitch through. And you can pull off these extra ones or snip them if you want to. So I'll knot my cotton. And I may find a few little patches where a little bit of the blue wool's peeking through, but because I've used some of that blue colour, so I'll just put it through so my knot pops under somewhere. It's kind of going to just be under there, under that edge. And cut off the tail, it's a bit long. And this is where I do go all the way through. Okay, so I'm capturing both sides. I actually really enjoy stitching the bits over the edge. It's quite thick now that you've got at least 2 or so layers of fabric, because they do overlap a bit, and then the wool underneath. So it's very nice to stitch through. The type of needle I'm using, I was just thinking I probably should tell you that. It's just an embroidery needle. It's a fairly short one. I like using a little one. It's got a reasonable size eye. Actually, it's almost like a small chenille needle. I think it was just from a mixed embroidery needle pack. And you just manipulate the fabric to fit the shape. So we'll get this stitched down, and then I'll just show you some ideas for embellishing. I'm undecided at the moment as to whether I want to add embellishments or not. I might add a little bit. So I'm going to just come up here. And just stitching through again. Okay, so it's pretty quick. Need to check. I think I've got a couple more edges that I want to cover up. Okay, that's pretty good on that one, so I'll just run it under. I usually run it under the fabric. I can tell I've gone down in between the wool just a few times. That's not going to go anywhere. That's pretty secure. Okay, so let's look at the edges. They're fine. What I did with the other edges, like I had the fabrics and I just put them up the top and just overlapped them as I was stitching to begin with. This edge here is not really well done. So I could, this is where I might get my pretty thread, and I'm going to need a bigger needle for that one because I won't be able to thread the small one. Let's see if I can get this one. It's this wool looks like it's just a little bit bigger than 4-ply. I think I bought it as a 4-ply, but it's quite a chunky, more chunky 4-ply. Some of them are a bit finer. I want to get down to that section there. So what we'll do, use that for something else. Got the colour section that I'm after. Okay. So with this, it will make a chunky knot. So what you could do, could lie it down. I'm going to go from, I might start over here. So I'm just going to lie it down. And what I'll do is I'm going to stitch over it and it will secure it. So it's quite a chunky wool. Okay, I'm going to hold that towel down until I've stitched over it. Should have threaded a milliner's needle. Would have been easier. Okay. So I'm just coming next to each stitch as I go along. And we'll start getting the nice variegation in colour. I don't really need to hold that tail now. I've gone over it, it's actually quite secure. And that will neaten up the edge that's quite messy. We'll just cover it all up. I could also do a little bit of running stitch with this wool, which I might do. Okay, so you get the idea. I'm going to stitch the whole way along there in a minute. To embellish, now this is where I might want to add, I'm just getting a few bits and pieces. I was thinking of adding that flower. Where's the leaf? I've got the leaf. There's a leaf. Might put that somewhere. What else? I got a few bits of lace. I might get out a, I had this embroidery. Oh, a little bit of tape measure I was going to put on. I may not get all of that on. I had that. Oh, my Suffolk puffs, where are they? I had them here, little ones, very cute. I had my other type of wool. I think these were the main things. So embellishing. All right. What I would do with these is just find places where you want to put them. So for example, let's have a look on the back. So I had a part, where is it? Here, tiny bit of the wool blanket showing through. So that could be where I stitch on my Suffolk puffs, and I would just stitch them with the normal cotton because it's thinner. And then I might find a place for my flower. Maybe I want that inside. It might be where it's a bit dull. It's a bit dull here. So for example, I might stitch that down there. Put some random lace bits there, and I love overlapping them over the edge. So you can see a bit of the blue blanket because that was a really threadbare piece of old quilt. So, you know, I might overlap that over the edge and just stitch that down. This one potentially could go on the outside. That's a bit boring there. I probably want to add a bit of lace on there or something. My Suffolk puffs. We're going to go, where was it? Can't remember, but you know, they could overlap onto the lace. So that's how I would embellish. I am going to film that later on can put tape measure somewhere. I'm going to film that later on, embellishing. So really, we've just worked on the base layer. I will finish stitching this over the edge, come back and do some more sort of decorative stitching later on. That's sometimes the last thing I do, a bit of doodle stitching. And yeah, so I'll come back again in a little while. It's going to be tomorrow. It's time for bed now. And then I should be ready to have this video put together and put up. Okay, so I'll see you again when I come back for more embellishment. Thanks for watching. All right, so here we're up to the 4th section of this video. This is the final embellishments. So I have decided to embellish this one. I have just pinned down some different laces and trims, embroideries. On the back there's Suffolk puffs, etc. And what I'm going to do, just using a normal sewing machine, cotton, that one, that kind of thing, I am going to start embellishing. So foundation layer was the little bits of fabric everywhere. You could go bigger bits. You can bend and manipulate and move around bigger bits. On this one, I just went smaller. So I'm doing what we call little overcast stitches. So just coming up and going over some of the fibers so that you hold whatever it is that you're stitching down. Now I have overlapped this a little bit onto the back, but it's not perfectly even, so I think I'll stitch one side and then I'll go to the other. All right, so I'm not going through to the other side in terms of with my thread. I can feel that I am just going into the wool and then back out through the fabric. Sorry, just getting a bit tangled in a pen. Back out through the fabric to capture the edge. So overcast, you just go over the edge. And you just stitch all over the place. Just making sure that you're holding it all down. Okay. So what I do, I'll pop off the camera. I'm going to stitch some bits down and I'll come back and maybe show you stitching down the Suffolk puffs and the embroideries. So I've stitched down that lace that I was just stitching, and then I just continued stitching because I had the thread there. And I could probably put another stitch in there. Doesn't really matter. Oh, you're right, Alfie. Just jumped. What's up? What's up? Sorry. And then I've just continued stitching around this, and then I started stitching around the puffs, but I got another puff I'll show you. I stitched down this lace and the little laundry label, stitched these laces and another little piece of fabric over the top. And I stitched the little piece of fabric tape measure and a little bit of fabric to cover the top. And now I've left a few bits to show you. I've got this old Suffolk puff, which is a nice colour. So I thought I'd stitch this. I'm just going to work out where I want to position it. And then I thought I'd stitch that, slightly overlapping it. So I'll do this one first. Needle's ready to go. Just tuck my knot under here. And it's just the same stitch as what I was just showing you, the overcast stitch. So just little tiny stitches. You know, it's easier if you flip it. Much easier to sew. Okay, so just little overcast stitches around the outside. You could do this in a perlé to make it interesting. I'm just going to hold it down, and then if I want to do some more embellishing, I will. Some of the doodle stitching. good thing about this is because it is a soft bowl, you can bend it in your hand. It can be awkward because I want to put my hand there to stitch, but you just have to go with it. And see, I can squish it. It's not a big deal. I'm going to show you in a minute. I have stitched together the base of the next size up, which is just a little bit bigger than this one. Probably similar size to my original one, or maybe just slightly larger. I think Mum said she's done quite a big one. Oh, and I said in the video at the beginning that she's done 3 or 4 or something like that. She's actually up to about 6 or 7. She's done a lot. And apparently her most recent one, which I haven't seen yet, is larger. I have asked her to bring them down because we are both, we've got a stall at the de-stash market this weekend. So we've both got some stuff to de-stash. And she'll be coming down tomorrow and bringing her bowls to show me. So if she's got them here, I might film them and give you a little view of Mum's, because she will have done them a little bit differently to me. The next thing I'll do, my next bowl, I'm going to do bigger pieces. Like the biggest piece I've done here is only about that big. I'm going to do, because it's a bigger bowl. This one I've used a lot of little scrap pieces because I wanted to, you know, pull things out of my scrap bucket. But the next one I think I'm going to do some bigger pieces. And I'll go sort of different colour waves. I've gone reasonably bright on this one. I might change the colours up. Might think about, as I suggested before, maybe an Easter one. I'll do an Easter theme basket. Okay, so that's on. And then this would be nice, but I'm thinking I might put a little bit of lace under that. Quite like it all overlapping like that. Let's do that, hey? Something different. So I'm just getting a knot. I'm going to rip some of this lace off because you can't see it all. So let's just get that started. Bury my knot under. Tail's too long. I'll just stitch this a little bit just to hold it down, and then I'll put the flower on. Oh, hello, Alfie. He is sleepy today. Okay, so I'm just doing some little random stitches, holding the lace in place. Okay, now let's see where the flower's going to go. I'm just going to get onto the flower now because it's overlapping anyway. Another little stitch on the lace, and I'll just go around the flower overcast stitch. And again, I could do that in a coloured thread. I might feel like I want to come back and add that later. Okay, sorry, I don't talk much when I stitch normally. I'm very talkative at work, but and with friends and stuff, but when I'm creating, I'm fairly quiet for some reason. Okay. I'm going to pop off the camera, finish stitching this, come back to show you the doodle stitching. Okay, I'll be back in a sec. Okay, so everything's stitched down, flowers stitched down. Over here, I've got some of that bright thread again, that bright wool, and I'm going to do some running stitch, cantha stitch. Ugh. Got a few layers I'm going through now. I should use a milliner's. Be easier to get through. I might switch. Okay, I'm going to do some running stitch. I'm just going to switch to a milliner's needle because I think it'll be easier. Harder to thread, but easier to stitch with. Okay, there we go. There we go, easier to pull through. Okay, so I'll show you in a sec. I'll just do a few of the running stitches, back and forth. Might have to get out a bit of like neon pink. Usually have a bit of neon pink in just about everything I do, because it's my favorite color. Actually, I'm doing small stitch. I need to do some bigger stitches on the back, so I'm just flipping. Ooh, that's quite thick there. And what I'm going to do here, where I go through, I'm going to go just between the fabric and the wool, so not through to the other side, because I don't want to have a stitch that's going straight up when I'm doing running stitches in the same direction. Does that make sense? Now some of the brighter colours will come through soon, so it will stand out a bit more. Trying to do them a bit bigger, particularly on the back, so you can see them. Okay, and then do the same thing, and I'll do one more line. Okay, so see I've got 2 lines there, and on this side that's thick there. That's where the, I can feel that the seam of the wool is just there. So it's quite thick. All right, so I can't really do a knot with this. All I'm going to do is just do a final stitch and then thread it a little bit along the way between the wool and the fabrics. Pull it through, cut it. It's not going to go anywhere. It's not like I'm not using a knot and I'm needing to hold down fabric because the fabric's already held down. Can't even see it. So there's a bit of doodle stitching. I may choose to do a little bit more. I might have to get one of my neon threads, but I think, oh, hang on, I might do a little bit in this and then we could do some other stitches rather than just cantha. Maybe I just do a few little X's. Okay, I have just done a knot in that one without thinking, autopilot. Got the running stitch there. I don't want to do it on any main feature. Right, flowers there. The inside's pretty busy. Might just do some at the top here. You know what I can do? I'm going to show you. Instead of going through, because the flower's on the other side, just trying to work that knot under. Is it going to go under? Probably enough, yep. I'm just going to go and keep the thread on this side, so I'm not going through. So I'm going to do some crosses. So straight stitch down, then across. And there's that little knot. I'm trying to stuff it under the fabric. It's not going too well. Just came out there. I'm going to cut it. Come out here, knot. Okay, I'm just going to cut it. Oh, that was a bit of a wide cross. Oh well. So as you can see, nothing on that side. So you could keep embellishing for ages. Just keep adding and adding and adding, but eventually you'll have to decide to stop. So, you know, I might stop after these crosses and then later on I decide to come back and do a bit more stitching on it. But the main thing was to show you how to do them in the more simple way, which you've now seen. It's a long video. This is not a quick snippet. This is a long snippet today. But there are a few of our friends, particularly for the girls from Green Door. Hi girls, said it to you before, that are making the bowls or wanting to make the bowls and are waiting to see the easier method. Mum has tried to explain, but there are questions. So hopefully, girls, Virginia, etc., I hope that this helps you. And if not, let me know what you're having trouble with. I mean, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and I'll go 9, so we're an uneven number. There we go. That will do for the moment. I might do a bit more stitching on the outside. But anyway, the video is too long. So thank you for watching. I hope you can, it's been close, work out how to do your bowl. Have some fun with it. Have some fun with your colours and using up your scraps. And I'll see you again for the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.